X-ray 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over.
Negative. We don't want to report.
Look, it wasn't my worst Wednesday night.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Anomaly Now, straight out of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Smiles Lewis. This is the weekly, rarely live news and media roundup for the nonprofit 501c3 Scientific Anomaly Institute, aka the Anomaly Archives. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is a Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and yeah, things just get crazier and crazier. I'm going to zoom right into all this stuff. Don't have much time today. The next 3 months are going to be really challenging for me personally, and I may not be able to do this show with any regularity. There also may be some interruptions in our monthly Anomaly Academy lecture series. We shall see. You just never know. I did want to give a personal update. You know, last time on the last week's show, I talked about the experience that I had back in 2016, my experience with a mystery hum phenomena, a deep, low-pitched recurring sound that I was hearing. And last week I was commenting that I feared that it might be recurring again now, almost or about just over 10 years later. I was absolutely hearing something weirdly low frequency. Thank you to those who reached out. No, it's fine. It appears to have passed. I'm still wondering. Maybe I actually was hearing some low frequency sound external to me, external to my home, and that's what I was perceiving, and it was just a 1 or 2 night incident. Who knows? Well, yay. Thank you. Moving on. In more concerning news, your entire browsing history, private messages, and financial details could be released for anyone to read. Tom Leonard reveals crisis talks over Armageddon new program and the devastating consequences. Yes, if you follow AI news, artificial intelligence news, you have probably heard about Claude Mythos, one of the latest AI iterations that has been walked back by its company for fear that it could cause the apocalypse. This is over at dailymail.com via archive.ph. It's behind a paywall, and Daily Mail is not usually something I recommend, but sometimes they have good reporting. Over at NBCnews.com, the Vuln-apocalypse, or what I say, the Vuln-apocalypse. I hate it when they drop letters that make it easier to say. The Vuln-apocalypse, the vulnerability apocalypse. Why experts fear AI could tip the scales toward hackers. Anthropic is withholding its most advanced model over hacking concerns. Experts say it may only be a matter of time before similar tools are widely available. That, again, is over at NBCnews.com. But the Daily Mail one, it starts like a sci-fi horror novel. Recently, a researcher working for the large AI company Anthropic was sitting in a park near its San Francisco headquarters, enjoying a lunchtime sandwich. Scrolling on his phone, he suddenly received an email that must have instantly ruined his appetite. It was from a new AI model the company was testing, a program that was meant to have no access to the internet, let alone be able to send emails. Chillingly, the AI informed the researcher that it had successfully broken its way out of its digital sandbox, a supposedly secure enclosure used to test potentially dangerous software without it running amok, and was now happily exploring cyberspace. The program, a cutting-edge so-called frontier AI named Claude Mythos Preview, then informed the stunned Anthropic worker with what seemed like a boast that it had posted, quote, details of its exploit on publicly accessible websites. All that in itself was concerning enough, but what Anthropic subsequently revealed was truly terrifying. The company, which is valued at $380 billion but is only 5 years old, announced this week that its new AI program was, quote, too dangerous to release to the public. Anthropic said it had exhibited, quote, reckless behavior and even posed a national security risk. These disturbing findings, it said, were a watershed moment. The company said its Mythos software had been independently able to discover thousands of serious vulnerabilities in every major operating system, such as Apple's iOS and Microsoft Windows, web browsers such as Google's Chrome, Apple's Safari, and Microsoft Edge, along with myriad other, quote, important pieces of software. Yeah, red alert, folks. Not to cause a panic. Respond how you think is appropriate. But do not respond with violence. As you've probably also heard is it Sam Altman or one of these AI guys in San Francisco? His home has been repeatedly attacked by Molotov cocktail throwers and gunfire. That is not an appropriate response. Whatever feelings you might have, don't respond in that way, please. Meanwhile, some other headlines. Artemis 2 crew experiences the overview effect. Red Pill Junkie over at dailygrail.com reports amid the constant barrage of doom and gloom we get bombarded with 24/7, the historic Artemis 2 lunar flyby has been like a gust of fresh air. I agree. For the first time in a half century, human beings are venturing into the void of space farther than ever before, testing systems and equipment for future missions, which will permit a more permanent stay on the lunar surface. During the live transmission, mission pilot Victor Glover delivered an improvised, albeit poetic message to the rest of humanity they left behind during their short rendezvous with our natural satellite. Yeah, for those who aren't familiar, the overview effect, as mentioned here, really came about because of people like astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who, of course, went on to found IONS, the Institute of Noetic Science. And let's see, it says Glover was mentioning the Bible when he shared this personal reflection, but the first astronaut who reported this feeling of oneness was Dr. Edgar Mitchell, a Freemason and the sixth person to walk on the moon. Mitchell equated this cosmic perspective with the contemplative state of samadhi in Eastern religions, tradition like Hinduism. It basically amounts to seeing the earth in its totality and having a sense of wonder and awe and a connectedness that often causes people to have a transformative, nay, spiritual experience. You can read more about that over at dailygrail.com. Thank you, Red Pill Junkie, for reporting on that. I did also want to let folks know that I was recently interviewed by Matthew Hopewell, aka AP Strange, for his AP Strange podcast. And you can hear that over at his YouTube channel, AP Strange. That's youtube.com/@APStrange23. And he's titled it Going Down the Rabbit Hole with Smiles Lewis. And it's basically an hour and 40-minute discussion about conspiracy theory, parapolitics. It is not an official presentation of the Anomaly Archives. It is a personal interview with me about my strange journey down the rabbit hole and hopefully out of it as I recover from being a true paranoid and conspiracy theorist. But you might enjoy that. Let's see what else we got. Right. Let's see. Oh, and UFO news. Goodness gracious. Oh, so yeah, the disclosure. It's happened, right? That finally happened? Disclosure? What we've been waiting for? No, not yet. Oh, well, okay. How about this? How about, is Trump finally going to reveal the truth? As he said, Trump's UFO, what? Commemorative merge? What? No, say it ain't so. This brought to us by Christina Gomez, reporting on Pavel interviewing Matt Laszlo of UFO, UAP poll. Oh, no.
What we have confirmed from multiple sources is there's going to be a UFO commemorative coin, which will likely be sold by the White House. And this White House has proven that they're really good at making money and they're really good at wagging numerous dogs at a time. And so even kind of last time I talked with Congressman Burleson about the issue, his question was, yeah, I don't know if the White House is trolling us or not.
Oh, wow. Cool. A coin. Feels like we're collecting Pokemon cards all over again. Well, either way, that reporting has since been independently supported. Journalist Ross Coulthard confirmed the coin story and stated that while a limited disclosure does appear to be planned, he doubted the full legacy UAP program would be acknowledged. Multiple sources have cited Jamie Walden, who reportedly received an intelligence briefing stating the coin has already been produced and that a disclosure speech may be coming out in early May. That has not been officially confirmed, however. And I'm really not sure what the purpose of this coin is. Is this the White House version of making merch? I mean, can we at least get a t-shirt? That aside, here's where everything lands right now. Trump issued a disclosure directive. The White House registered aliens.gov. A commemorative coin is reportedly already made.
Oh, Lord. Sorry, folks. Yeah, there you go. Disclosure. Right. Okay. Where is, no. Where's, okay. I've already dropped the ball. Sorry, folks. Yeah. So in other news, you can, of course, go to our Flipboard. That's flipboard.com/@anomaly archives. And there's a lot of other news and information there. I previously mentioned ions, Edgar Mitchell's creation, or coining of the overview effect as an astronaut seeing the Earth. Well, over at their ions YouTube channel is this video revealing the spontaneous remission database. That sounds cool.
So what is spontaneous remission? Sometimes cancer can just go away, and we don't really know why. And this phenomenon is defined by a set of different controversial definitions, but ions has always used the original definition that was developed in the 60s, which is the partial or complete remission of malignant cancer with either inadequate medical treatment or no medical treatment. And the word inadequate there being the operative term, of course. And
so you can finish watching that over at the Ions YouTube channel. Yeah, what else we got going on? So yeah, as far as other UFO news, God, where is? Oh yes, here we go. Has the U.S. made contact with aliens? Expert speaks out. This is over at sentinel-news.org, but of course they're excerpting a video from the Soul Foundation with Peter Skafish. Has the U.S. made contact with aliens? Expert speaks out in a new panel published by the Soul Foundation. Dr. Peter Skafish, executive director, confirmed rumors that the U.S. had allegedly made contact with ET representatives, according to his sources. Now, there's all kinds of crazy news in the UFO UAP sphere these days, and I'm not tracking all of it. Well, I'm watching it. I'm not reporting it all to you. Sometimes I flip it into the Flipboard, sometimes not. Some close friends sent me a link to a TMZ video featuring Tim Burchett doing his usual folksy, humorous, "If y'all only knew what I've heard, y'all would freak the F out." And, okay, great. Yeah, him and Matt Gaetz, who he also was recommending TMZ interview. Matt Gaetz, yeah, about the supposed alien-human hybridization program that our government and military might be working on with the aliens on. Again, these are old stories, and I'm not saying they couldn't possibly be true. Our governments and militaries around the world have done all kinds of terrible things, but perhaps more reputable, though still wild claims here. Again, over at sentinel-news.org, Baptiste Friscore is reporting on the words of Dr. Skafish. But here is some of that video. It's about a minute and a half.
Many of us are, all four of us are familiar with very, very credible claims coming from people in a position to know, who say they know, that there has been a contact event, a very explicit, very manifest, obvious contact event, nothing that was liminal or elusive, that, something like a landing and an interaction. To me, if that happened, that means most likely there was an interaction with something quite like us that does have political interests, that does have probably has law, probably has ethics, maybe very different from us, in which there's a great asymmetry of power and technology. And I don't know how you narrate that. I mean, while telling the truth. And I don't know how you narrate it the way it's been narrated to us, as if it just happened once. I have a very hard time believing that if that happened once, it didn't happen several times. But the version we've all heard is that it happened once. And what's implausible to me is not that it happened; it's that it would happen one single time, and then the interaction stops. Unless you really had no control of the interaction, you certainly would be attempting to have further interactions, further conversation, further discussion.
Right. So again, this is over at sentinel-news.org, but of course you can go on our Flipboard, excuse me, is the direct link to that video of that panel discussion somewhere here. Oh, there it is. UAP disclosure breakthroughs. What comes next? Kirk McConnell, Leslie Keane, and Jim Semivan, as moderated by Peter Skafish. Also happening, there's a new video, Schoolyard Witnesses in Mass UFO sighting demand answers. This is, of course, the famous Melbourne School UFO incident from 1966. And I think these are all still available. Hopefully Yeah. Over, oops, I'm not sure it's the Ozark UFO channel. It's so the Ozark UFO conference, Ozark Mountains conference over at, looks like ozarkufo.com, uh, has been having their 3-day UFO conference now, the oldest UFO conference in American history. And all 3 days videos were rebroadcast. And so you can click on through and watch each day's sessions of UFO presentations. That's pretty awesome. I'm hoping that those stay up long enough that that everybody can watch those. But yeah, we posted the link to the first day. There's 3 days worth of videos, and I think you check that out. Meanwhile, what else was I going to mention? Oh, yeah, that's mainly what I wanted to talk about in the UFO scene. There's a lot of other great stuff. I'll put some links in the show notes for today's episode, this April 15th, 2026 episode of Anomaly Now over on the anomalyarchives.org website. anomalyarchives.org/video/anomaly-now. Get into the directories with every year's links to every week's episodes and the show notes for each of those. Yeah, what else? Oh, right. I was also going to bring your attention to the latest article online over at the Observer magazine, Digital Residue, the GIF of the haunt, musings on the stone tape theory in the age of the internet. This looks like a fun read. With an introduction here saying, "Greetings, observers. Thank you for reading the world's greatest high strangeness zine. We have been teasing a huge announcement lately, and we are almost ready to let you in on the secret. Over the last 12 months, we have traveled back and forth across the country in hopes of securing this once-in-a-lifetime dream opportunity. We are thrilled to say that it's finally come to fruition. More details on what the heck we're alluding to are just around the corner. Keep observing." Yes, Blake Collier reports on a digital residue, a GIF of the haunt. And yeah, if you're not familiar with the stone tape theory, this is a paranormal hypothesis that posits that somehow places imprint with psychic impressions. This is kind of like the idea of hauntings being the leftover psychic residue of traumatic experiences of the people involved, and thus, like if there's an apparition, it's the recording of a person who was killed there or died there, usually in some traumatic way, and that has left an imprint on the geopsyche of the location. This article by Blake Collier begins, "Archaeologist turned paranormal investigator T.C. Lethbridge conceived of the above." Oh, I guess I should read that intro. Quote, "So satisfactory has psychometry appeared to be that investigators, from the results obtained, have deduced the existence of some kind of memory connected with inanimate objects or a sort of surrounding ether which serves this purpose. Archaeologist turned paranormal investigator T.C. Lethbridge conceived of the above as a means by which ghosts become, quote-unquote, projected into our sensorial reality. This was the inspiration for Nigel Neal's horror play, The Stone Tape, which became a BBC broadcast in 1972. This play and broadcast are the origination of what is now called the stone tape theory, even though it was ultimately Lethbridge's concept. In his book, Ghost and Ghoul, he explains that people projected these presences without knowing, and others could view them. He was quick to add that in his experience, one is not capable of projecting and seeing a ghost. These memories of the past transmit much like a movie or images on a television. It seems the technological development of moving pictures influenced Lethbridge's framework of thought. Access to these specific moving pictures required a quote-unquote vibe shift of sorts. One had to be on the level of the projection's energy or pressure and attentive to it, not distracted by other thoughts or tasks or entertainments, to see the ghost repeating a moment of its. So I would encourage you to go check out the rest of this. This is a theory that I've always found very interesting, and I'm so glad to see outlets like The Observer printing these kinds of articles about that kind of thing. And if you're not familiar with Nigel Neal is a fascinating Fortean character who wrote for the BBC and created one of the most famous Fortean paranormal ufological characters and series ever, and that is Quatermass. That is a research scientist, Dr. Quatermass, who investigated all manner of strange phenomena having to do with the paranormal, UFOs, alien life forms, etc. There's a number of different TV adaptations of these stories and movies that made their way My favorite, of course, being what I've often mentioned, titled Quatermass and the Pit, aka 5 Million Years to Check It Out. What else is on today's agenda? I think I mentioned this on the last show, probably, but I still really, this is from discoverwildscience.com. I think I did cover this, maybe. I don't know. my brain is like this. It's all scrambled. And it's on April Fool's Day. The shared dream reports that are stumping neurologists. Picture yourself waking up from a vivid dream only to discover that someone else experienced the exact same narrative down to the smallest details. This isn't the plot of a science fiction movie. Various reported mutual dream narratives have been analyzed, suggesting that shared dreaming might be more than just an urban legend. Throughout history, humans have reported experiencing identical dreams with others, creating a mystery that continues to challenge our understanding of consciousness and the sleeping brain. I've talked about how I had a dream switching experience with my best friend in high school, whereby I was in Houston. Gosh, this must have been, I think it was the night of my dad's second wedding. Yeah. Oh, so that would have been 1986. Wow. Okay. So, I'm out of town, met a young lady who I was very enamored with, was very excited to go to sleep and have dreams about her. Went to bed thinking about her and how much I wanted to tell my best friend about her, expecting to have some exotic dreams, if you know what I mean. Did not. Had dreams that were completely alien to me, that were unlike any dreams I typically had or ever really had, that were anxiety dreams about school homework, something I never had dreams or nightmares about, but this was a very setting anxiety-riddled dream about doing schoolwork, completely out of the norm from my experience. I get back to Austin, and my best friend proceeds to tell me how he was so worried about some papers he had to write for a class. He was very anxious about his homework, and then inexplicably, he had a exotic dream with a young lady he'd never seen before and proceeded to describe her. And I'm like, that's this girl. Anyway, so he had my dream, I had his. He got the better end of it. Anyway, continuing this article just briefly over at discoverworldscience.com, the phenomenon of mutual dreaming or shared dreaming has captured the attention of researchers worldwide who are now documenting cases with scientific rigor. The best documented cases involve therapist-client shared dreams. In these, there is a professionally trained therapist who verifies the claim that the dream happened to both the therapist and the client around the same time. Yet, despite mounting anecdotal evidence and preliminary studies, the scientific community remains divided on whether genuine dream sharing is possible or merely an elaborate coincidence. Yeah, I think I mentioned this in the context of our recent presentation by Zelia Edgar. I think she talked about this during her lecture or in our conversation afterwards. I know she and I spoke about it possibly off air, so I'm not going to say anything more. It didn't involve she and I. It involved her family. Anyway, that's over at discoverwildscience.com. Got to go check that out. What else was, yes, in cryptozoology news, like last show, I think I alluded to this news report over on fox23.com. Unidentified animal attack leaves McAllister mother fighting for life, father on dialysis, awaiting kidney. The father on dialysis is not related to the attack. But yeah, where is that? Over on our, SharonAHill.com reports Oklahoma attack inspires cryptid speculation. A woman in a remote area of Oklahoma was attacked by an animal in the early morning hours of March 29th, originally thought to be a dog attack. By the time the story spread in the local news media, the dog scenario had clouded a bit, and the attack was from an quote-unquote unidentified animal. The source of the news was here. That's the fox23.com link. On April 3rd, Alicia Maxey became unconscious during the attack, but from what she told her family, she remembered hearing a quote-unquote deep growl, and then, quote, something just pounced on her back. Something just pounced on her and knocked her to the ground, said her sister-in-law. She says it was dog-like. It was described. She says it was dog-like is what she described, but she didn't say it was certainly a dog. So this occurred in Oklahoma, and Sharon A. Hill goes on, a cryptid mystery to solve. Almost a week later, it is the top trending article on the news site. car seat cryptozoologists, I call them this because many of them are filming on their phone in their car and posting to social media, have elevated the story to a major cryptid mystery that they want to quote unquote solve. One TikToker who labeled herself as a quote wife and mother, salon owner, dog lover, lake bum, unquote, has been following the comments on the story. She provided a handy summary of the chatter about what the mystery animal might be. As you probably could guess, the speculation gets wild. People are logically suggesting it was indeed a large dog as the most obvious answer. A bear is also highly plausible since it can seem dog-like. They are coming out of hibernation quite hungry, and a bear can inflict serious injury, even death. So they go through the other options: mountain lion, wolf, big cat, like perhaps an escaped imported animal. Hyena is a frequent suggestion in the comments, though I'm not sure why this is even proposed. These are African animals, and an escaped imported animal is not plausible, especially a hyena. And then, of course, the cryptid answer: Dogman. This pop cryptid is a large werewolf-like creature with dog features but walks upright. It's an impossibility unless you creep into the supernatural realm. It's a cultural cryptid, not a new undiscovered animal, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, so, and she goes on even more, but her update here, the family's GoFundMe link had some additional information, including the mention of a gunshot. It also contains conflicting information about the dog still being present, but the wounds not being consistent with a dog, suggesting some other animal was involved and the dog was part of the reaction, not the cause. The details are all jumbled up and unclear. And if you click on the GoFundMe link, and I'm not encouraging or verifying, I don't know if this is verified or not, but there is a GoFundMe link alleging to raise funds for this poor woman who was attacked. Their goal is almost reached at 97% of $45,000 with over 695 donations. Yeah, and this basically says, on March 29th, my sister-in-law Alicia was found horribly mauled by a dog. We were told the homeowners discovered her unconscious and bloody with the dog still present. Which, to me, I'm immediately thinking, so was the gunshot them killing the dog, thinking the dog attacked her? But they immediately called 911, and Alicia was rushed to St. John's in Tulsa for emergency care. The trauma and injuries she suffered have left our entire family in shock, and Alicia now faces a long and difficult recovery. When Alicia was able to wake up briefly, they were able to remove her breathing tube so she can breathe on her own. When she was able to whisper that she had heard a deep growl as she was walking up to the gate, something pounced on her. It was dog-like, but she did not specify it was a dog. After that, she recalls only hearing yelling and a gunshot, possibly. After the news of the story went on Fox News, my brother found out that the investigation was started, that they had taken parts of her clothing to do DNA testing because some of her wounds were not consistent with that of a dog bite. We are still awaiting results. Wow. Yeah. Again, I'm sure there's a prosaic explanation here, but hopefully everybody recovers. But it's interesting, even though morbid, seeing this kind of thing go into the realm of cryptozoology, cryptid speculation. Obviously, there's likely a down-to-earth prosaic explanation, but it's just one of the things we're covering. There is a lot of other interesting cryptozoology news. There is a new PDF online that you can download of a famous 1934 book. This is called Rupert T. Gould's book, The Loch Ness Monster and Others, published back in 1934. This is posted over at lochnessmystery.blogspot.com. Robert T. Gould wrote his seminal book, The Loch Ness Monster and Others, back in 1934 at the height of the speculation and reporting concerning this new creature that had been regularly reported in Loch Ness over the 12 previous months. Gould had made the trip to the loch in November 1933 to spend 2 weeks investigating the matter for himself, as well as interviewing key witnesses up to that point in time. After following up later on other accounts, the book was published in June 1934 and remains a classic title to this day. It was republished in paperback form in 1969, but copies to this day can be hard to find at an affordable price. Since Gould died in 1949, this meant that the book went out of copyright in 2019 and was ripe for republication. As it turned out, this has come to pass when a group called Horological History produced a downloadable PDF version of the book in 2024, which can be found here. And there is, go check that out if you are so inclined. Meanwhile, Michael Schratt, military aerospace historian, has a new video out called Roswell Revisited 2026, The Ultimate Historical Pictorial Timeline. Haven't watched this. I doubt his perspective mirrors that of my own. Won't go into that, but I do appreciate Michael Schratt's research and his interest in doing drawings of famous cases and the craft described as he sees them. That's also available to view. There's a bunch of great archaeological. There's a bunch of great archaeological links available over on our Flipboard. 2 articles by Micah Hanks over at thedebrief.org. A 2,000-year-old law script has been deciphered. Now it may help solve the enduring mystery of ancient Teotihuacan. And then also the ancient city of Mohenjo-Daro, a lost archaeological enigma, could be centuries older than previously thought. Then over at Popular Mechanics, an archaeologist just learned the true purpose of a mysterious mound. Very interesting alternative interpretation of the why behind these ritualistic creations, these mounds, at least this one mound. That's over at Popular Mechanics. Then over at Smithsonian Mag, archaeologists didn't expect to find anything at this site in England. Then they stumbled upon a Roman villa and a bronze artifact dubbed, what is it called? The Norfolk Nessie. Ahead of a wind farm development in Britain's eastern coast, excavations along an underground cable route uncovered the ruins of an ancient farming estate that boasted its own bathhouse. And I don't know if they showed the Nessie artifact. I guess they don't. I thought that was, let's see. Right. Now excavations sparked by offshore wind farm on the country's eastern coast have revealed a Roman villa with a bathhouse as well as an artifact that researchers named Norfolk Nessie because of its resemblance to the Loch Ness Monster. Is there another reference to that? Nope. Dang it. No pictures of that. Oh, well. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be it. Was there some other? Let's see. That's it, folks. Well, again, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell. Go to our website, anomalyarchives.org. You can subscribe to the website there and get updates when I post to the blog there. Or even better, you can go to our Patreon and become a patron of the Anomaly Archives. That's patreon.com/anomalyarchives, where we post newsletter information. And if you are subscribed, if you're a patron of a certain tier or higher, you get access to our monthly Anomaly Academy lecture series, as well as the backlog of a year's worth of previous lectures. So hope you'll do that and enjoy that. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Good night. Au revoir.